Okay, we're going to go ahead and get going. Once again, thank you all for making time to be on the call today. I'm actually kind of excited about this call because I've got a few new items to bring up today, new programs that we haven't really talked about before. So I know we will hit some of the mainstays like PPP, but there's some new stuff coming out. So I'm hoping you find today's call very beneficial. We're actually going to get started. We have another special guest speaker today. Our friend Jake from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation is our international trade manager, actually, for the region, including Shiawassee County. And I'd mentioned briefly, I think yesterday, maybe even the day before, that there are some resources that are available to companies in Shiawassee County that are interested in either starting or growing their international customer base. And I think right now, with the domestic market basically shut down, except for the government buying and spending money, there may be some opportunity out there internationally in maybe countries that are not as affected by the virus. So this is very intriguing to me. Looking forward to hearing what our friend Jake has to say, that there might be some opportunity to do that work and find some customers in other places in the world that might be able to offset some of the domestic loss. So I'm going to give the floor to Jake, and he's going to tell you more about what he does and what programs are available to help with exporting. So, Jake, if you want to hit star 6 and go ahead.
Hey, I'm on. So thank you, Justin, for putting these together. What a fantastic resource for the companies in your area. As Justin mentioned, I do cover basically the entire I-69 corridor from Lansing all the way out to Port Huron. Certainly like getting out to Shiawassee County when I'm allowed to leave my home. So that's an exciting thing for me. So let me talk a little bit about what I do when all this stuff is not going on, and then we'll tailor to what's changed a little bit and how you can leverage that in the current situation. So my whole goal in life is to work with Michigan companies to help them export more. I've got a variety of programs which I'll touch on very briefly here, but would certainly love to work with each and every company that's kind of in that space of wanting to get out and reach out to international markets. So to hit on a couple of the high point programs, and certainly, use this in the context, and maybe one thought to share with you before we even get started here is, this is certainly an unprecedented time. All of you are stuck at home and, doing what you can. But I think the companies that are going to really be successful internationally that come out of this are the ones that use this downtime to do a bit of planning, do a little bit of strategic outreach to really jumpstart that international side of their business. So I understand that many of you are holding down the fort. You got to do that. You got to get done what you got to get done. But if there is any downtime for you, international trade can be a fantastic opportunity. So that's my goal in life. I meet with companies all the time, and I'm happy to, once this all is over, to stop out to Shiawassee County to meet with anybody who's interested to discuss further. But what the only difference in my job right now, given everything that's going on, is I just can't do that face to face. So all of our programs are active. Everything I'm going to talk about is a phone call away. We can get this engaged for you. We're happy to assist, even with everything going on. There hasn't been a shutdown on my end as far as our services not being available. So having said that, I know Justin specifically wanted me to talk about our grant program. And there has been a couple changes to our grant program for those of you that are familiar with the STEP program, the State Trade Expansion Program. And essentially what this is, it's funding available to you. Now, it's reimbursement funding at a rate of 50% up to $15,000 per year. So if you're, again, once everything opens back up, if you're doing any type of international travel, international trade shows, things like hotel, ground transportation, airfare, all that good stuff, I like to put it on the spectrum of anything from, hey, we're thinking about getting into a new market, we need to do some market research, all the way to the point of closing that sale in person across the ocean. That's where you're going to see eligible expenses. So we're happy to engage with that. Like I said, it's 50% reimbursement. You need to apply ahead of time. I can help you navigate through that process. But, certainly we can't travel right now, and probably many of you are a little leery to plan travel. So one of the changes we've made in this program to appeal to all of the folks here in Michigan that are stuck at home, one of the eligible expenses has always been developing a website. So, if you're focused, if you have an existing website and maybe you're adding a new language, or you want to accept Mexican pesos, or whatever that may be, as long as it's an international website, we can assist in helping to fund that. Now, in the past, that's been just like every other aspect of the STEP program, a 50% reimbursement. In light of what's going on, we have actually expanded that to a certain extent, and upped the amount that we'll reimburse for websites from $3,000 up to $6,000. So you need to spend $12,000 in order to get the $6,000. But it got even a little better just this past week, and I think maybe that's why Justin reached out to me to talk a little bit more about this. We actually upped the reimbursement rate for websites to 75%. So what that means is, in order to get that full $6,000 in reimbursement funding, you'd only need to spend $8,000 if my math's correct. Justin, you can correct that if you got your pen and paper there. So having said that, it's a fantastic opportunity to maybe reevaluate your strategy online. One of the things I always tell my companies is that when we're talking internationally, your website is your business card to the world. So if you have any type of international strategy, or maybe you've dabbled with it a bit in the past, and you've just done a Google Translate situation on your website, and maybe you want to just be a little more sophisticated, that's where we can lend some assistance. And there's some funding that's available that we're excited to get out in the hands of Michigan companies who are certainly getting caught up in this downturn. One a really interesting feature, which is another reason Justin wanted to present today, is one of our services is actually through our partners at IBT Online. And if you want to look that up, our specific website for the Michigan service is ibt.onl/partners/state-agency/ I know that's a mouthful, and hopefully, Justin, is that, if I got you some links, and I know you have links to the specific training, is that something you get in everybody's hands?
Actually, Jake, as we speak, I've got the information on the grants and the upcoming webinars for that. I'm emailing it out to everybody right now.
Fantastic. Just for a grain of salt on everybody, some of those additional changes to the STEP program, the 75% and the $6,000 up on the website, that might not be reflected that one pager. This is so new that we haven't even updated our flyers, but just keep that in mind. As you're taking a look at those. And Justin, thank you so much for sharing that. In those links, there will likely be a link to our partners' webinars, the IBT Online, and I'll describe what exactly that is. But there is a webinar coming up tomorrow that's really going to hit on a website strategy in the face of COVID-19 and what all that looks like. So there's a webinar on the 16th, which is tomorrow, 10:30. There is another webinar on April 30th at 10:30. These are free. I would certainly encourage you to, at the very least, get some ideas. You aren't compelled to use the service. If you just want to use the webinar for some ideas, that's fantastic. Being informed is a very positive thing. So let me talk about what IBT does for Michigan companies on behalf of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So we actually have them under contract, and I'm going to do some fuzzy math here. So if everybody wants to get out a pen and a paper or follow along in their heads, I'll kind of explain the value in what they do. But let's talk about what exactly it is they do for your website. We like to refer to it as website localization So instead of just using that scenario where you're doing a Google Translate on your existing website, they actually have somebody in market. So say you want to, you've got some sales in Mexico, you want to strategically get more sales and really expand upon that market. They would have somebody in Mexico basically creating a localized version of your website in that market. So it's going to be translated, but it's not just going to be in Spanish. It's going to be in the local vernacular. And certainly that's helpful when you start talking about highly engineered products that need some of that language rather than just a straight translate. And as you all know, the Spanish in Spain is infinitely different than the Spanish in Mexico, as it would be different in, say, in Argentina. So we're taking that into consideration. It's also going to be hosted locally. So instead of having a translated .com website, you'd have likely a .mx website. So just lots of things that is really going to make it not only look and feel like a Mexican website, but it's still going to look and feel like your website as well. So you retain that control. The pictures, the look and feel of your website are all going to be very similar, very much the same to what you have. So it's going to fit with your marketing strategy as well. So actually, what they do is it's 12 pages worth of translate. That can be for one market, or we can do 6 pages for 2 markets, that IBT is doing. So if you wanted to do one for, say Mexico, but you also wanted to do, that's something they can work with. They can work in multiple markets. They're really flexible people. They're happy to meet you where your strategy is. Traditionally, they would charge $12,000 for that service, those 12 pages, basically $1,000 a page. The state of Michigan, the MEDC is highly subsidizing 50% already. So what you would be responsible for would be the $6,000. However, like I just mentioned in regards to the STEP program, these programs can work in tandem. So you would basically take that $6,000 that your company is responsible for, run it through the STEP program, and then all of a sudden, out of that, the MEDC is picking up $4,500 out of that, or 75%. So all of a sudden, the $12,000 website, you're only paying out pocket of $1,500. My apologies. So really good resource, really good opportunity if you are considering, moving into a website strategy that this makes sense for. But again, you are not compelled to use this. You can still use the STEP funding for, working with your local developer. I'm sure Justin would be happy to share some contacts within Shiawassee County that have that expertise. Certainly happy to make connections as much as we can there. But it's something to consider, and certainly there's some immediate resource and immediate information that's out there and available to help you kind of plan or just think about. So some really good opportunities in the near term here. One other thing that I think is really important to mention regarding our programs, and this honestly is probably our most beneficial program in regards to international trade, is the MEDC actually has foreign offices. We have direct offices in Canada, Mexico, Brazil, an office in the UK, which covers all of Europe for us, an office in the Middle East that covers the countries we're able to sell to, and then an office in China. In addition, we have several other indirect offices all around the world, across South America, Australia, New Zealand, across the Pacific, Japan, South Korea, India, South Africa. So chances are we've got some resources if you're looking at any of those markets. And essentially what they can do for you, and first of all, let me reassure you that they're slowing down because we're slowing down, but they're ready to go. That's where I talk about this being a great opportunity to leverage those types of resources, because there's a bit of a lull in the action. They're hungry for work. They're hungry to meet their contracts with us to stay busy to help Michigan companies sell more. So what exactly can they do for your company? Variety of things, but I like to drop those things into 2 buckets. One is probably our most popular and mostly used feature, is essentially helping your company find partners in that respective market. So if you're looking for a direct customer in Mexico, they could find it for you. If you're looking for maybe a sales agent or a distributor in Mexico, they can also help you find that type of resource. So really helping you find customers. That's bucket number one, right? So bucket number two, little less used, but certainly can be valuable, especially if you aren't already selling in a market and you're poking around, you're exploring new markets to get into. Is kind of a general assistance. So everything from helping you understand local business customs to helping you understand the tax system or the regulation system in a particular country. If your stuff is getting caught up in customs at a particular border, they can help with that. If you need help, putting together an appropriate contract to come in after point of sale to service your machinery or equipment in a particular market. We see this a lot in Canada, given our proximity. It can be tough to get our workers in there. They can help with, I don't know if workaround is the appropriate term, but strategies to make it easier for you to do business in those markets. So everything from market research to just understanding and helping with particular issues. We've got resources in many of these countries, and we're happy to help make introductions there. That's something that we provide free of charge for Michigan companies. And really, at the end of the day, I kind of liken it to, the STEP funding is, giving our companies a fish, and that's great. That's exciting. But our foreign offices are teaching our companies to fish in those particular markets. So that's a fantastic resource that we have out there and available and ready to go. That hasn't shut down. We're excited to help. So that's what we're looking at. Justin, I know you know our programs pretty well, and certainly Justin's a fantastic resource. You guys are lucky to have him over in Shiawassee County. Anything else? Maybe one thing I can lean on before I ask the question to Justin. We've got a lot of other programs, and usually how I end all my meetings is, it's not your job to remember all of my programs. It's your job to know my contact information, which hopefully Justin is sharing with you, and reach out to me with questions, reach out to me with concerns. If you're having an exporting issue, chances are either we have something directly or we've got a partner that does it. And if we don't, I'll be honest with you. I know that there's lots of resources in the private sector, and we're happy to point people to a database that has those type of services, like translation services. There's a lot of good companies here in Michigan that do that, right here in the Lansing and Flint and everywhere in between. So, Justin, with that, is there anything else you wanted me to hit on in regards to the international programs? Anything I missed that you were excited about me talking about today?
Yeah, so what we'll do, Jake, when we're done with the program, which probably will take another 10, 15 minutes, we'll open up the floor for questions the company has, and I will send out your contact information to everybody. But the one thing, if you could real quick just highlight, what's happening in the rest of the world as far as markets? Are there other countries that are quote unquote open right now that if our businesses here, want to look at new potential in South America or Africa or Asia or whatever? Are there markets open right now, or is the whole world shut down?
Well, to a certain extent, everybody's slower than they have been in the past. However, I'm starting to hear that China is opening back up. And I don't want to say everything's completely open, but they're opening back up, especially in those areas that weren't hit quite as hard. I know when you start talking about Europe, I feel like Europe's about 2 weeks ahead of us in all this. When you start talking about flattening the curve, I feel like they're a little farther on the back end of this, which leads me to believe this is a good time to plan. And for all those folks that are like you in this situation, when they're getting ready to go back to work, lots of these companies they're still operating just like all of you. They're holding it together. So it's not, I don't want to say business is completely shut down, anywhere, right? So I think Europe's going to be a little bit ahead of us in opening back up. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Of course, all that's with a grain of salt, where it seems like everything changes with the hour. I want to say Mexico and Latin America maybe is a little behind us. in some of their decisions to shut down. And you never know with the warmer climates. I know, for example, South Africa has not either been hit yet or hasn't been hit as hard or whatever that may be. So I think they're going to still see shutdowns. But in some of those warmer climates, I feel like there's some opportunity. So I think the thing I can emphasize most is just be in that planning phase. If you're interested in these markets, we can get the ball rolling, because chances are, if you're starting the process right now, whatever market you're looking at, and even here in the U.S. to a certain extent, things are going to open back up. The world's changing to a certain extent, but by the time you go through this planning phase, and by the time you go through, looking into these by the time you're through that process and deciding what you want to do, chances are things will be open, and you'll be able to approach that in some material form.
Excellent. Well, Jake, hang on the line for just a little bit.
You got it.
We've got a few other things we want to cover. Some people might have questions, so let's hold that, and we'll get to that in a minute. So, Tyler, are you on the phone yet? Tyler the Bravemander? Tyler, if you are on the phone, you got to hit *6 too. Sorry, I got Tyler. Got some updates. Our business development manager. So I don't know if he's joined yet or not.
Yep.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Hey, Tyler.
Hey.
I know you're on another call, but I wanted to turn it over to you as well, because we are now learning. I teased this at the beginning of the call. There's some new programs that are coming online, additional programs to the export assistance that MEDC is working on. So, Tyler, can you maybe give everybody an update on those new items?
Sure thing. A couple of initiatives that have just kind of been worked through the Michigan Strategic Fund. One is a program through Northern Initiatives out of Northern Michigan University. This is a small business loan fund, and it's really targeting primarily underserved rural markets, so small businesses in those areas, but also an emphasis on women and minority-owned businesses. This is in total, $2 million loan pool, and they're going to be giving the loans in increments of $5,000 to $250,000. The application for this is open. I don't think a close date has been established, and it's fairly straightforward. You would apply through Northern Initiatives, their website. They've got a portal set up. I know we'll distribute that as well, but just another opportunity for small business loans. And, we expect these will keep coming online, and we'll keep passing them along as they are available. Happy to take any questions on that after this. I think we're still, learning more about it, but that's kind of the basic straightforward narrative there. Another thing,
Tyler, if I might there, I think, and I've done a little on this, and I'll send out an email. Actually, you guys sent me an email yesterday with a little bit of information. I think the key thing about this, maybe versus the other loan program, is this is limited to rural areas. So this would not be competing against Wayne, Macomb, Oakland County, the bigger population centers. So it might give some of our companies a better opportunity to get some of those loan dollars.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So we've got that. Another thing been working on here is extent kind of relief for businesses and community partners that have engaged in our funding and capital access programs and expansion grants. So companies that have received approval for a job creation grant or loan participation, the timelines are being extended upon request if the company is up to date with milestones and in compliance. Obviously, it's going to be a case-by-case basis, but I think they're really laying the groundwork for a format to make that a more seamless process, less negotiation back and forth, and really, understanding that this is not a typical operating time, and companies that have entered into agreements should not be expected to, keep plugging on as normal if it doesn't make sense for their business. So happy to open up those conversations with our compliance and project management team as companies evaluate their situation and might be looking for an extension or some flexibility on their agreements. Last
Tyler?
thing I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, keep going. No, keep going.
Yeah, last thing I wanted to touch on is an initiative that's actually from Planet M. This is our mobility component here. They've released the COVID-19 Mobility Solutions Grant, and this is we don't have a real answer on the amount of funding available, but these are grants for businesses that are in the mobility space or are able to convert in the mobility space on opportunities that would limit human interaction, really expand on no-touch technologies, delivery systems, and virus detection and prevention surrounding mobility. So I think there's a lot of angles there, and if anyone is interested, happy to chat and connect you with our Planet M team. I know they've opened up the portal, so just to kind of get your information in there and start that discussion, I think is a great idea if you think you might have something in the mobility space related to COVID-19 that might be of interest to them for this grant.
Okay. So those three items, Tyler, I know I did send out information on that mobility grant yesterday afternoon, so folks should have that in their email inbox. The existing grant recipients or funding recipients from MEDC, and if anyone's on the call, you know who you are, we can talk with you individually if there needs to be modifications or assistance there. And then Tyler, I did get, as I mentioned, something on that Northern Initiatives Small Business Loan Fund yesterday afternoon. It was from MEDC. Should I send that out, or do you think there's going to be more information, updated information on that coming?
Yeah, I think go ahead and send it out.
Okay.
The application window is open. I think as many of our companies as we can get in early, the better. Definitely we'll keep you guys posted as more information comes out. If I learn anything more about requirements or what preferences on the review team. But right now it looks fairly straightforward. Again, the emphasis, as Justin said, on rural communities, and it's a pretty flexible grant or loan program in that it's from $5,000 to $250,000. So I think as much as we can get in early is probably going to be beneficial for Shiawassee.
Excellent. Okay. Well, some folks may have questions for you, Tyler, but as we're doing with Jake, let's wait here just a couple of minutes. So just have a few more items to get through on the agenda, and then we'll open it up. Actually, I'd like to turn it over now to Jody on our team. She has a couple of things she wants to know. Jody?
Yes, just a couple of quick things. I know some people have been asking about when the federal $600 would be starting to show in accounts, whether it's for yourself or for employees. From what I understand, that has started to go into some of the accounts at this point, so that should be happening now. For anybody who is self-employed and trying to apply for unemployment benefits, they have updated the site just a little bit. I think for clarification, there were a couple of people that I heard from who were self-employed and trying to file under the employers section. If you're self-employed, and they have made it clear now on the website, it was not clear on Monday, they changed it yesterday. If you're self-employed and trying to file, make sure you click on the For Employees button to do that. It will walk you through that section. There is an SBDC webinar this afternoon on the Paycheck Protection Program. Justin has sent everybody a link for that. And then the only other thing I wanted to touch on, we actually have received a question about it, and I'm on just a frequently asked question website about some of these things. People are wondering about, will my account be charged for UI benefits paid due to COVID-19? And if so, how will it impact the UI tax rate? Was one of the questions. And at this point, according to the Executive Order 2029, the executive order applies to claims filed between March 16th and April 14th, basically saying those would not be, that will not impact the tax rate. They're asking, or we were asked yesterday, if that date was changed, that April 14th date was changed now that the stay-at-home order has been extended. I have not found anything that shows that it was extended. I have reached out to somebody to try to find that answer. And if anybody on the call knows of anything different, if you want to let us know during the question and answer period, that would be great. But at this time, I don't see any updates showing that that's been expanded. That's all I've got today, Justin.
Okay. Thank you, Jody. Just a couple of other items real quick before we open up. The SBA programs, things are starting to ramp up in terms of approvals and dollars in the account. That's good news, obviously. I think now, since yesterday, I think I've heard from maybe 6 or 7 more that have gotten their money and have been approved and gotten their money. So I'm really hoping, obviously I think some of you have gotten it. Some of you, obviously, most of you are waiting. But hopefully here today, tomorrow, the rest of the week, we get a big ramp up in approvals. So please do stay in touch with us on the process and what you're seeing. Most of them are somewhere between 8 and 10 days in terms of from time you hit submit to getting the money. So please do stay in touch, though, on that. But we're seeing some good progress there. And if you've not gotten into it yet, please do so. That money's going very, very fast right now. One thing I want to note, this Friday, there's going to be a webinar actually put on by the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce. You may want to look into this because they're going to have the governor on there. It's 10:30 Friday morning, and I'm assuming since it's the Detroit Regional Chamber, she's going to be focused on the business solution to reopening Michigan, I'm hoping. So I wanted to just make you aware of that. Probably can send out an email on that, but I'm going to participate myself because I know I would, and I'm sure everybody on the call really wants to hear what that solution is to reopen and what the plans are underway. I know the governor talked about working on it, but I think we all want to hear specifics on what that strategy is and what the safety precautions are going to be and things like that. So I'm going to join that 10:30 Friday morning, being put on by the Detroit Regional Chamber. So you might want to check your calendars on that one. And then one more item, and actually I'm going to call on somebody else. Got somebody on hold. I talk about jobs every day, and any companies that are looking to hire, let us know. But I'd like Chris Schuler from our GST Michigan Works office to give a quick update on the companies that you are working with right now that are trying to hire through Michigan Works. Chris?
Morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. It's a little slow out there, but there are a few companies that are hiring. Universal Handling is looking for spray painters. Have been looking for that for a little while. Just got an email from Primerica. They are looking for some sales and management people for insurances, willing to train, willing to help people get their licenses. As far as that goes, they do have a contact number. If somebody'd like to write that down, I'll give it right now. It would be for 517-525-3223. And again, that will be for Carol Barbridge. And she would be more than happy to help out. Shiawassee Prosecutor's Office contacted me. They're looking for administrative assistant / legal secretary. So if we know of anybody who has skills in that particular area, they're willing to talk with them. Pay range is anywhere from $14.77 on up to 18 and change, obviously depending on experience. McCarthy, the solar project, people are still looking for help. They're looking for journeyman electricians, also looking for electrical apprentices that are anywhere within the 1st to 4th year of their apprenticeships, and also still looking for general labor, pile drivers, installers and things along those lines. We're still working with on-the-job training projects with them. As a matter of fact, we have someone starting there today. So we're still working very, very heavily with them. Right at Home is looking for in-home people, also offering a number of services that are not just in-home. They're able to do check-ins at businesses. They have trained personnel that they can put there to make sure that people who are coming into your businesses don't have fevers, or any of those kind of signs. So there are a number of different opportunities there. So if anyone is interested or has anyone that they want to forward, please contact us at Michigan Works, 989-729-9599, and then all that information can be forwarded to me. Justin, that's what I have right now.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Okay, well, that was a meaty program, a lot of good speakers, a lot of good programs that are available. Now would be the time to open up the floor. Reminder to hit *6 if you have any comments or questions. I do want to recognize, I talked to my friend Bob Rogers from ProLime yesterday, and he did tell me he wanted to make a comment on the call. So, Bob, I don't know if you're on there. Feel free to jump on, or anybody else have any comments. Now's the time.
Yeah, Justin, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, Bob Rogers here from ProLime Ag, and I've got some questions for Jake, but before people start dropping off the call, you said something yesterday that kind of struck a nerve with me when you were talking with Senator Stabenow, and that was that your organization, the Shiawassee Economic Development Partnership, wasn't eligible for any funds, and that some of your previous donors were drying up. So you've been very helpful to me, Brent and Jody also. You were at every township meeting, every planning commission meeting, every ZBA meeting, and even the county commissioners when we had to talk with them in order to get us up and running. And then you've been very helpful with this PPA program, which we, I'm pleased to say, have gotten our check. So, and I know we're not supposed to mix those funds. Those funds are for utilities and for payroll. I understand that, very clearly. But I'd like to reach in my other pocket and give you 1% of what that amount would have been. And I'm suggesting that the other folks on the call that might be so inclined would let you know that as well, so that that'll help you guys with a little bit of operating funds up there, because you have done a whole lot for Shiawassee County and for the state, actually. So having said that...
Thank you, Bob.
Oh, you're welcome. Having said that, I was wondering, Jake, I kept salivating the more you talked about this deal, but I've got one question that might put it all together. What about importing from other companies? Do you provide assistance for that? The reason I ask is our plant uses the infamous N95 3M mask, which we were buying for $1.25 2 months ago, to you can't even find one now unless you go to the internet for $19.95. So did some research and have found some PPE equipment, very high quality stuff in China, no less. And I'd like to know if you can help with website establishment for stuff coming in as well. I've also got friends in Czech Republic that can't get any of this stuff, so it may turn out to be an export thing too. I guess it'd have to come from one place, go to another place, but just wondered if those services are available, help with customs, going the other way, et cetera, et cetera.
And unfortunately, unfortunately, not directly. Obviously, you can see the dilemma we would have with expending, state tax dollars or even federal tax dollars with the perception of moving jobs overseas. And I understand in a global environment that's not that simple. But in a lot of ways, that creates a very big perception problem, right? So I am, to reiterate, 100% focused on exporting activities. Having said that, we do have partners like Van Andel Global Trade that assist companies all the time with importing efforts. That's just not supported by the state of Michigan and the MEDC. Another thing that I am happy to do in regards to helping with importing issues is all of those foreign offices, they are located in market. I'm happy to make an introduction to those companies for them to provide assistance. Unfortunately, that would not be supported by the MEDC, if that makes sense. So if you want to have an independent transaction with them and utilize their advice, and we do have companies do this from time to time, where they're looking for advice on importing or looking for essentially companies to buy from. They will work that way, but like I said, that is not supported financially by the state of Michigan. At the very least for the optics of that situation.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure. It's a good question.
And Bob, I'll get you Jake's phone number and email. We'll send that out here shortly. And once again, Bob, thank you for your kind and generous contribution to what we're doing. Other comments or questions from the group?
Hey, Justin.
This
is Colleen.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Colleen. I heard Rich too, but go ahead, Colleen.
I heard in one of the Zoom meetings the other day that ServSafe, which is a company that does training for food safety handling for restaurants, they are offering free classes through the end of April for online classes. So I just wanted to put a shout out if there's anybody that's, either farmers markets, restaurants, anybody that handles food. They're offering a class that's usually something you have to pay for free. And it's servsafe.com. It's servsafe.com. And it's nationally known. Just want to put it out there. There's some more help.
Tried to jump in there. Any?
Justin? Hello?
Justin, you're breaking up a little bit.
I think he's gone.
This is Jake. If there's any questions for me, feel free to just jump in with those. I don't know what happened with Justin there.
Yeah. Jake?
Yes, sir.
This is Rich Doherty. I'm with Rivers Fab and Welding and Rivers Security Specialist, and also my consulting, which is Business Idealism Group. And in regards to the COVID-19 Mobility Solutions Grant, do you have Charlie Tyson's phone number?
Yeah, I can. You can hold on the line here. I can dig that up real quick.
Hey, I've got it right here, Jake.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Tyler.
Go for it. Oh, hey, Tyler. Yeah,
All right.
Yeah. Shoot, if you wanna. I'm sure Charlie won't mind it being given out on a conference call. It's public info anyway.
Here we go. 616-389-7328.
7328. And just real quick, Tyler, if you have any idea, how do they define a project in that?
So
or the partners for that matter.
The grant for the Mobility Solutions grant.
Yep.
It has to go to a private company. However, they're encouraging companies to partner with, transit agencies or public sector groups in the space.
Okay.
Okay. And then
right.
the first deadline for the first phase of funding is April 24th.
Right.
To engage. Okay, good.
Yep. So yeah, that I was actually thinking about some type of public-private partnership that could be set up with that. So okay, I'll give Charlie a call to find out more details. I may have a few different companies that may want to apply for that. So
okay, and happy to route things through him and get things set up as well if you don't have luck. I know they've got a lot going on too, but hopefully you'll be able to get through, but if not, happy to help.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. And let's see, if I'm just a message to Bob at Proline, I can give you some help with what you were asking about with the masks. So give me a call, and the number here is 989-725-8804, if you're still there, Bob.
Yeah, I am. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep.
All right.
That's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Any other comments or questions from anybody?
Hey, Justin, this is John. Is Jody still on the line?
I am.
Jody, I just got a question about unemployment. I had some clients asking me, they're having a hard time getting through, and I understand, there's just so much volume there. But I remember you giving or telling us maybe there was another way to contact him. I instructed them to go through like MyWham or something, and submit through the chat. They seem to not have any success there. And, their claim generally is really dealing with, a claim that they had filed, but it was denied for whatever reason, and he's just wondering why. So not anything I can answer for him.
I'm just going by what I was told. I actually called in and I left a message. I was able to leave my number and get a call back last week on their business line. I followed prompts and just got through that way. They will not answer any personal claim information or questions on that line. So not a way to get in if people are just trying to get the personal information answered or questions answered. I was told by the person I spoke with that the best time to get in is as early as possible in the morning, because even in the afternoon, I know my son is going through that right now. He has one that was denied. He's trying to figure it out. Basically the queue fills up and then they won't take any more. They won't even let anybody else in the queue. So the chat, I was told that even by noon, it may be too late. So get in as early as possible. And the same thing with the phone number. I know I tried for hours before I actually got through. So I totally understand, people are trying. You have to just keep trying. It's very difficult to get in right now. But from what I understand, and I did actually speak with somebody who told me this at that office, that they just have to keep trying. And I know that's frustrating, but at this time they are extremely busy because the sole props were just able to finally get in and file this week. I know the site crashed on Monday, so they were behind because of that. So at this point, it's just a matter of trying until you finally get through. We've had trouble even getting on the chat here. Like I said, for my son, we've been trying to work through that, and we have not been successful at getting through. So I totally understand, we're going through the same thing, and I see firsthand, that it's very hard to get through, but that's the only advice I have, is to just keep trying.
Okay, thanks for that. I mean, I explained that to them, but
yeah.
It's okay. And
I know
I understand.
it's
Thank you very much.
for everybody who's trying to file right now.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from anybody on the call? Okay, well, wow, really good call today. A lot of good information. Thank you all for joining. And as usual, if anything comes up, feel free to get a hold of us by phone or via email. And we'll be back on tomorrow at 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate you putting this together.
Yes, thank you,
Thanks,
Jake.
Justin.
Thank you.
SEDP, appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.